there's a lot of women movements out there that are very harsh against men. I am not for that. That's not what I believe. I believe more in what I call the Queen's Code. And the Queen's Code is really understanding that we can communicate and we can understand a business and we can be leaders of business when we bring in our feminine. It's when we try to cut off our feminine and step into our masculine that things get off.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. And if you have ever dreamed of having your own $1 million business, then today is your lucky day. We're going to be talking to a woman who's done that 3 times. And her mission is to empower 100 million women to follow in her footsteps. And one of them might just be you. Heather Havenwood is a top authority on digital marketing, sales coaching, and online publishing. In 2017, she was named one of the top 50 must-follow female entrepreneurs by the Huffington Post. Today, she mentors and coaches women who want to start or grow their own business. And her latest book, which we'll be talking about today, is Sexy Boss: How Female Entrepreneurs Are Beating the Big Boys While Changing the Rule Book on Success, Money, and even Sex, and how you can too. Welcome, Heather.
Well, thank you. That was a very nice intro. Thank you.
Well, it's fantastic because female entrepreneurs, we need to know there's other out there, and we also need to know that we can go up against the big guys. Yeah. And this is what you've done. Like, this is the exciting thing. Even before all the explosion in business books marketed to women, you were building businesses from the ground up to over $1 million in sales. And this is the crazy thing. You're doing it in a little over a year. Now, someone like me hears that and thinks, well, surely she's got to have this special gift, this special expertise that ordinary women just don't have. Do you think ordinary women could possibly replicate that kind of success?
Well, let me say it this way. So thanks for that. I don't see any woman as ordinary. So I think every woman is extremely talented in their own way. I find that women are the kind of engine behind families. They're the engine behind businesses. They're the engine behind the PTA. They're the engine behind nonprofit organizations. There was a study that was 80%, between 80 and 85% of the small businesses in America today are run by women. They're owned by men and run by women. And so I would say that women are enslaved, and I mean that in the most unloving and loving way at the same time, is that we have been taught that we are workers. We've always been the workers behind families, behind whatever. We do what it takes to get it done. And so people call that caregiving. I call that working. And so it's now time that we move that. We shift that from being a helping the business, run, to being the leader of the business and help the business run, right? Because it's not about trying to bash men. I don't emasculate men whatsoever, but the sway has gone too far. So 20% of the businesses are women owned. I don't even think that's true. I think it's probably smaller than that. But I'm talking about majority of the women are really running businesses today. They're the ones running the families today as well. And I think it's just time we had recognition.
That's fantastic. No, it is so good. And I wonder whether or not it's really what's making it change now. So my background, my family, we have a lot of small business owners in my family, and the man runs the business and the woman does all the work. She does all the dirty work. She makes sure he can just do his job. And so when I think about that switching in my family, I think, I'm not sure the men would feel comfortable being emasculated by their wives running the business.
So I don't think that's emasculation. I think that's actually just understanding the roles and responsibilities and giving us credit where credit's due.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I think it's just a mind shift. I don't believe in emasculating men whatsoever, but there is a time when you're like, hey, I'm doing all the work and I want the recognition, right? That's not emasculating. That's just owning that we doing a good job.
That is fantastic. So traditionally, when women have entered fields that are male dominated, like the corporate world or like politics, they've had to become like men. They've had to play by the man's rules in the man's world. But you are challenging that. You're saying that we can bring our femininity into the business place. We can be sexy and be a boss. I want to know, how does that work?
Okay, so there's a fine line. So let me just go down this road for just a second. So the language of business is male, is masculine. Okay. And what I mean by the language of business, if you look at how business is run, and I'm talking business across global spectrums, it is a masculine language. Okay. So and what's happened for many years is we try to fit in to the masculine language. And then when we do, some of us do try to move into that, we are called names. Don't say that. Don't do that. That's mean. You're being a bee, whatever, right? You're being too strong, blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, if you understand the language of business, that is a masculine language. It's been going on for thousands of years. It's not something we're going to change. So what happens is women try to go to war with that and make it wrong. And it's just like you're in a relationship with a man. You can go nowhere when you make the man wrong. Okay. It's never going to shift anything. If you make him wrong for not taking out the garbage, he ain't gonna talk about the garbage. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. It's like understanding the language of the masculine language. When you understand that, you can bring the feminine energy of who you are into it and be what I call sexy. Sexy to me is owning you're owning your sexual energy as a feminine. That's what to me sexy is. Okay. And then bring in the boss element. The boss element is understanding you're responsible for all areas of your life. You're 100% responsible. When you bring that into the masculine language is actually designed to kind of what I call submit to the feminine language, but not if it's forced. And that's what the challenge is. I try to tell women, I'm actually, there's a lot of women movements out there that are very harsh against men. I am not for that. That's not what I believe. I believe more in what I call the Queen's Code. And the Queen's Code is really understanding that we can communicate and we can understand a business and we can be leaders of business when we bring in our feminine. It's when we try to cut off our feminine and step into our masculine that things get off. Make sense?
Yes. So what I'm hearing you say is what we're not looking to do is turn business into a completely feminine world. What we're trying to do is to become whole. Take the masculinity of the business, add the femininity, and in doing so, we own the masculine inside of us, and business starts to shift towards a whole place of incorporating the feminine. So we get to express all of it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. One of the challenges I find with men and women today, and just general, is there's like an all or nothing conversation. You know what I mean? So I think that men can be confused by that because they feel like they're being pulled in something that's not comfortable for them. And then women feel confused because they feel like they have to be something they're not. So if you understand the language, men are from Mars, women from Venus, right? Conversation, and understand how it mixes together, then there's an alignment. So I just want women to be more confident in who they are to step into their role as a leader. I mean, that's really my mission. It's like, I really want 100,000 women or more to be financially free through running their own businesses. Because when the women are financially free, meaning they're making their own money, right? They are really freed up to do things that they would never normally do. Like maybe leave the relationship that's abusive, maybe stay in a great relationship, maybe have kids, maybe don't. Maybe because they don't have to actually do what the sole breadwinner, quote unquote, is doing. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So when I was working in the nonprofit sector, I was a Peace Corps volunteer. One of the big things that we were trying to do in the communities was to start banks, like so that women could get loans to start small businesses. And that is the way out of poverty, not by necessarily handouts, not by necessarily training the men, but by actually helping the women start small businesses.
So have you read the book, The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist?
No.
Okay, so The Soul of Money is what started that. I'll tell you the story because it's pretty profound. It actually is what that book and that story kind of propelled me into creating the book Sexy Boss. So the story goes, Lynn Twist is a fundraiser for the Hunger Project, which basically her job is to go around and ask rich people for money. Right? So, right? And the whole story is about her experience of asking people for money and how they related to the Hunger Project, especially very wealthy, very, very wealthy circles. She talked about that. But one thing that's really profound is the Hunger Project asks this question. And here's the question. What's the number one underutilized resource on the planet? That if we shifted that, or if we changed that, if we impacted that, it would end world hunger.
Is it
so
women?
what is that?
Is it women?
Yeah, it is. So a lot of people say water, oil, food, whatever as a resource, but actually the number one underutilized resource on the planet is women. Because when we're empowered, right? When we're empowered in a third world country and given a microloan of $200 to be able to take products and make something, and then they sell that in their marketplace, or they sell that in their village, right? And they're able to take money and then they feed their family that day. That's empowerment. Because some of those third world countries, the man, quote unquote, would go off to work, quote unquote, and supposedly if he's a good man, he'd come back with the money. And many times they wouldn't come back with the money, or they wouldn't come back at all. And you don't ever have to tell a woman, hey, you need to go take care of your children. Like, you don't tell women that. They just do that. That's what they do. You don't tell women, hey, you got to take care of your elders. Like, it's just what they do. For some reason, some men like don't think that way.
Yeah.
Right? So what they found is like they empowered the woman to create commerce with a small microloan. They realized that they're the starter of microloans. It's a hunger project many moons ago, and it's come from there. But microloans is the beginning of empowering women around the world.
That's fantastic. So somebody from my generation who has kind of grown up in a very old-fashioned world has some barriers when it comes to thinking about doing these things. And one of those things is, as great as it sounds to step out as a leader, a lot of us have experiences where we've got slapped down when we try to overstep ourselves. And one of the great examples was when I was on my college speech and debate team. Now, this was the mid 1990s, a long time ago, but I wanted to have my debate partner be a girl. And I was told that I could do this, but that we probably wouldn't win any competitions. And I was like, why? She's great. We're great together. I was like, no. If I had chosen a boy, that would have been fine. Or if there was two boys, that's fine. But two argumentative girls comes across as bitchy, and we put off judges just by being there.
So how did that impact you? How did that impact you for the rest of your life?
I worried that I was going to come across as bitchy if I was the one who put myself out. But if I had someone with me, maybe somebody male who was on my side, and we did it together, that was a bit safer.
Yeah. So it happens a lot. Women, what I call, will quote unquote be bitchy when they're married and allow their husbands to be kind of their, muscle, I would say, so they can hide behind that. I don't have that. So I have been called a B for sure. At the same time, I brought up in the same realm. I was told 2002, 2003 that that I shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Only men do that. Women don't entrepreneur. That's not what we do. We create babies. There's only three things that my mom wanted for me in my life, right? Create a lot of babies, marry someone rich, and always look good when I leave the house. 183 I'm bad, Mom. 183 ain't bad. But I mean, honestly, that's what I was taught, And so me veering out and speaking out and being a leader, to this day, I get backlash. I just had someone bash me on LinkedIn yesterday about they like my outfit. I'm like, really? Would you do that to Gary Vee? I don't like his t-shirt. So I think you have to just understand it's par for the course, and people are at where they're at. And I just encourage anyone and everyone to speak their mind, speak what they want, speak what's happening, speak what's going on, because if they don't and they stay in silence, there's zero empowerment for other people. And yeah. I'm very, I say what I want.
That's fantastic. So I want to get a little practical. So one of the ways that you help entrepreneurs is by helping them leverage their knowledge into a lucrative business. Yeah. And when I think about, all the stuff we know a little bit about a lot of different things, but most of us, aren't putting ourselves out there as an expert. What kind of knowledge would be, salable? Like if we wanted to be entrepreneurs, what do we have to really give?
Oh God, everything. I mean, so what do they have to give? Everything. I mean, anything. It's interesting. I know someone who makes money on teaching people how to crochet. There's a lot of people out there teaching people how to parent. There's a lot of people teaching people how to be a mom, how to do it all, how to be a yoga instructor. I mean, there's so many things you can do in the world of what I call info education, which is where you are making money off your knowledge, And believe it or not, there's a lot of tools and things like that we as a race, not race, but as a society, human race and society have not passed on. So like for me, I'm not a mom. Okay. But if I all of a sudden became a mom, let me tell you, my mom is not alive. I don't really have any motherly friends or grandmothers, like my grandmother's passed. So I would probably go online and find someone who could teach me how to be a mom. Like, I don't know how to do this. I'd probably roll in some mommy course, like, how do I do this? And get support, online, have Facebook mom friends. I mean, that there's so many things you can do nowadays to help other people, that you probably think is just like, why does everyone know this?
That's fantastic. So this is actually what you're doing now. You want to empower women in their
Yes.
journey to own their talent, self-confidence, and self-reliance. Let's say somebody right now listening is thinking, I want to do this thing. I want to try. I want to be a leader. I've got this idea. What would be their next step? What would you suggest for them?
Okay, it's a big question. They want to step into their entrepreneurship. I mean, one of the things first thing that I work with clients on is I figure out what actually is their message to market. Let's figure out what their business is. What's like the baseline getting started? What actually is the thing they're selling? What's the thing? It could be now the thing that they're selling is the modalities. And I go down this with my clients. What's the modality of it? There's only a few modalities. So in the world of delivery mechanism. Okay. So let's just take a restaurant, for example. You walk into a restaurant, I get food. You could also get the food delivered to you, right? Hot, or you can go into the grocery store and get the food and come home and cook it. Okay. So there's basically 3 delivery systems of food. Okay. In that way, right? You can also be a farmer and go get the food and grow the food, whatever. But you get the point. In the world of information marketing, there's only so many ways to deliver, right? And even if it's online or offline. So one of them is live events. That's a delivery mechanism, right? One of them is like a group coaching program. And then there's different ways to actually deliver that with different online systems, but group coaching. There's also one-on-one coaching. There's also consulting, right? Which is more of a one-on-one and consulting mechanism. And then there's the service piece where we're done for you. I mean, that's really the only ways of delivering information. Okay. And then you understand after all of that, we still have podcasts and videos and all kinds of stuff like that. But the thing that you're selling are the delivery systems. Okay. So I first work with what are they selling? I mean, that's the baseline. What are you selling? And then who's your market? And we sit on that for a while until we really figure out what that is.
Fantastic. So for those of you watching, if you want to get your own copy of Sexy Boss, and I know you do, or if you want to see if you can join and be part of Heather's mission, we've got a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/sexyboss. That's yourbrilliance.org/sexyboss. Thank you, Heather, for coming on to the show and sharing with us this really moving vision of a world where women start to stand up more as leaders and get recognized for their contributions. I wondered if there was any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
Yeah, there is. I'll just leave this message that never stay where your presence is not valued. And that's a quote that someone gave to me a long time ago. It's like, never stay in a situation, in a relationship, in a business situation where your presence is not valued.
Amen. Thank you, Heather.
Thank
And
you.
thank you out there for watching. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.